Ray Kurzweil is perhaps the most relentless optimist of the digital age, a thinker who has spent half a century insisting that exponential technologies can lift humanity beyond the limits once imposed by biology, scarcity, and even mortality itself. His faith in progress is not casual. It is rooted in a lifetime of engineering triumphs, statistical analyses, and predictions whose accuracy has grown ever harder to ignore. From the moment he built a pattern recognition program that composed classical music at age 17, Kurzweil has treated the future as a design space rather than a fate. The detailed case he presents for artificial intelligence reaching human level by 2029, for technological singularity in 2045, and for the use of nanorobotics and genomics to radically extend healthy life, deserves close examination and, in many respects, enthusiastic support. Kurzweil's credibility begins with a track record of invention. In 1976, he unveiled the first reading machine for the blind, a device that combined optical character recognition with text-to-speech synthesis, and earned him a meeting with President Gerald Ford. In 1983, he partnered with Stevie Wonder to produce the Kurzweil K250 synthesizer, the first electronic instrument to mimic the complex overtones of a grand piano. Later came speech recognition engines, medical pattern analysis software, and a cluster of startups absorbed by larger firms. These achievements reveal more than simple entrepreneurial vigor. They show an engineer who repeatedly converts abstract claims about exponential improvement into commercial reality. That same empirical instinct underlies his most famous intellectual contribution, the law of accelerating returns. Kurzweil observed that the price-performance ratio of information technologies, beginning with mechanical calculators in the 19th century, then vacuum tubes, transistors, integrated circuits, and, now, specialized AI hardware, follows predictable exponentials that survive the substitution of one paradigm for another. When Moore's law for planar silicon eventually slows, three-dimensional chip stacking, optical interconnects, or quantum substrates take its place, preserving the larger curve. Critics often assume that exponential plots are mere extrapolations of short-term data. Kurzweil counters with graphs stretching back 100 years that include clean handoffs between successive hardware families. The implication is profound. Transformation does not hit a brick wall when one technique saturates. Instead, inventors shift to the next, turning ceilings into springboards. On artificial intelligence, this framework yields a timeline that Kurzweil has defended since the mid-1990s. He argued in the age of spiritual machines that by 2020 computers would defeat the best human players at Go, translate fluidly between languages, and lace daily life with conversational assistance. All three milestones have arrived. Equally notable is his forecast that an affordable computer capable of 10 to the 16 calculations per second, roughly the neural throughput of the human cortex, would be available by 2029. Contemporary GPU-accelerated systems crossed that threshold several years early, at costs within reach of university labs. Kurzweil does not claim that sheer computation yields general intelligence automatically. Rather, he maintains that adequate hardware is a necessary substrate on which the right architectures can run. The rapid evolution from feed-forward convolutional networks to transformers and multimodal diffusion systems strengthens that premise. We are witnessing software progress limited less by fundamental theory than by training time and data throughput, both of which scale with hardware. The second pillar of Kurzweil's optimism concerns biology. In Fantastic Voyage, 2004, and Transcend, 2009, co-authored with physician Terry Grossman, he laid out a tripartite bridge to immortality. Bridge 1 uses present-day knowledge, diet, exercise, supplementation, to extend life long enough to cross Bridge 2, the biotechnology revolution that can reprogram genetics and cellular repair. Bridge 3 invokes nanotechnology, envisioning cell-sized robots that patrol tissues, remove debris, and correct mutations. 2 decades later, elements of that roadmap are plainly visible. CRISPR-based gene editing has cured beta thalassemia and sickle cell disease. mRNA platforms allow the production of personalized cancer vaccines in weeks. Lipid nanoparticles deliver editing payloads directly to the liver. None of these interventions existed when Kurzweil proposed them. Skeptics rightly note that clinical translation is slower than engineering, yet the velocity gap keeps shrinking, and the venture capital pouring into longevity biotech suggests confidence that aging is at least tractable, if not yet fully reversible. Kurzweil's newest book, The Singularity is Nearer, published in June 2024, reaffirms two earlier forecasts: human-level AI by 2029 and a singularity, defined as the point when machine and human intelligence merge so completely that the distinction loses practical meaning, by 2045. Rather than retreat in the face of rapid AI advances, he treats recent breakthroughs as validation. Large language models demonstrate that scaling data and parameters unlocks emergent capabilities far beyond the original training objective. When such models integrate lifelong sensory input from autonomous robots, the path to rich common sense reasoning narrows. Kurzweil's robotics startup, Beyond Imagination, embodies that convergence. Its humanoid prototypes leverage vision transformers and reinforcement learning to operate in industrial environments. The company's efforts mirror his belief that embodiment is the next catalyst for AI sophistication, and that humanoid platforms will expand labor supply rather than shrink it, freeing people for creative pursuits. Some commentators worry that superintelligence poses existential risk. Kurzweil answers with the concept of a benign hybrid future. Because humans will enhance themselves with brain-computer interfaces, cloud-based memory, and neural nanobots, we will not face an alien other, but a co-evolved extension of our own cognition. He concedes that alignment challenges exist. He simply argues that iterative, transparently engineered progress reduces hazard better than either moratoriums or runaway competition. His history with assistive technology reinforces this view. Machines that once read books to the blind now translate speech in real time. Each step of progress has enlarged human agency rather than diminished it. The accuracy of Kurzweil's predictive record further counsels in favor of his outlook. Independent audits counted 147 specific predictions he made for the year 2009 back in 1999. More than 80% proved correct or essentially correct, ranging from a ubiquity of portable devices to the rise of wireless broadband and on-demand video. The handful of misses involved cultural adoption rates, not core technological feasibility. This batting average, maintained across 3 decades, is unmatched among futurists. It suggests that his model of exponential change captures a structural reality rather than an optimistic illusion. Kurzweil's influence inside industry also warrants attention. Since joining Google in 2012 as Director of Engineering, he has focused on natural language understanding, contributing conceptual frameworks rather than day-to-day code. The company's willingness to bankroll long-term research, even amid quarterly pressures, signals respect for his vision among the most data-driven executives in the world. Meanwhile, his push for open-source health analytics has seeded companies that mine genomic and lifestyle data sets for personalized intervention strategies. The emerging field of phenotypic aging clocks, which combine DNA methylation, blood markers, and machine learning, bears his conceptual fingerprints. Support for Kurzweil's positions does not require blind acceptance of every timeline. It rests on recognizing that the curve of technological capacity, measured across multiple domains, remains exponential, that hardware improvements translate increasingly directly into software capability, that the barriers to editing life processes are crumbling, and that societal adaptation tends to be S-shaped rather than catastrophic. Jobs displaced by automation give rise to new categories in services, engineering, and creative arts, as they did during past industrial revolutions. The acceleration itself creates demand for human insight into ethics, governance, and design, all arenas uniquely suited to augmented human minds. Nor is his personal longevity regimen mere eccentricity. Biomarker studies show that disciplined caloric balance, regular high-intensity exercise, and targeted micronutrient supplementation can delay onset of metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular disease, and neurodegeneration. Kurzweil's particular protocol, dozens of pills calibrated by frequent blood panels, may be extreme, yet exemplifies a data-centric approach to wellness that is fast becoming mainstream through wearable sensors and telemedicine. The principle is simple: Measure early, intervene early, iterate continually, a principle identical to that which drives software and AI. When evaluating megatrends, it is tempting to retreat into cautious middle paths, granting no forecast more than conditional approval. But the history of innovation punishes timidity and rewards those who bet on growth curves while preparing for their externalities. Kurzweil's roadmap offers precisely that mixture: exuberant anticipation of abundance, paired with concrete proposals for managing risk. Among them, neural encryption to safeguard brain-computer interfaces, distributed data governance to protect privacy, and educational reform that emphasizes adaptability over rote skill. These solutions are pragmatic and implementable. They do not rely on utopian perfectibility. The transformative decade ahead will test every futurist's mettle. Artificial intelligence will either plateau, advance incrementally, or surge toward general reasoning. Gene editing therapies will either stall in regulatory bottlenecks or cascade into common clinical use. Climate constraints will either spur radical energy innovation or expose the limits of current policy inertia. In each domain, Kurzweil predicts upward inflection. Critics forecast slower progress. The tiebreaker ought to be empirical trend lines, and here the evidence tilts toward Kurzweil's camp. Compute costs per tera operation still plunge. CRISPR precision continues to rise, and renewable energy outcompetes fossil fuels in ever more markets. Ultimately, backing Kurzweil's positions means endorsing an ethical stance that sees knowledge as an ally of compassion. Ending involuntary death, augmenting cognition, and eliminating material scarcity are not hubristic overreaches, but the logical continuation of vaccines, literacy campaigns, and electrification. Every civilization chooses myths to organize its energies. Kurzweil offers one grounded in spreadsheets and silicon, yet animated by a humanistic desire to amplify life's possibilities. In a world often paralyzed by dystopian spectacle, such an affirmative narrative is not merely refreshing, it is necessary.